I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereign.
The comments reverberated through Buckingham Palace's historic corridors like thunder. Camilla Parker B.S. is no longer the Queen of the United Kingdom as of right now. In front of the country, King Charles III spoke in a calm, methodical tone that sliced through centuries of royal procedure like a knife through silk. The room went cold. Just the weight of history being rewritten in real time, not a murmur, not a breath. Almost imperceptibly, Prince William's jaw tightened. Catherine's knuckles were white with stress when her fingers found his hand under the table next to him. They both realized that everything had altered irrevocably during that quiet conversation. However, what could possibly motivate a monarch to make such a disastrous proclamation after waiting 70 years for his crown? What disclosure, what treachery, what unpardonable deed had destroyed the royal family from the inside out? Medical records, a phone conversation that revealed all, and layers of royal intrigue all conceal the answer. Prior to delving into the scandal that's causing the let me ask you a fundamental question about the Commonwealth. Have you ever had complete faith in someone just to find out later that they were planning your demise? Behind those golden palace doors, that's precisely what took place. This is not your typical royal drama. This is about a queen who risked everything and lost horribly, as well as power and manipulation. And this is what no one is discussing. 2 sets of medical records, encrypted phone conversations at midnight, and a plot spanning from Buckingham Palace to California are all revealed by the evidentiary trail. You're going to learn something that will fundamentally alter your perspective on the modern monarchy, so stay with me. And believe me, no headline could really convey how shocking the reality is. The declaration. Let's return to that time. The moment that caused the internet to crash and left everyone stunned. Inside Buckingham Palace, the mood was oppressive. Every sound was muffled by crimson velvet curtains. The gold-trimmed pictures of former rulers appeared to be judging. This was no ordinary royal address. It was a reckoning. Approaching the old oak lectern, King Charles III was clearly weak from his continuous fight with cancer. No amount of royal poise could conceal the deep shadows cast by the strong television lights on his face. His voice was steady when he talked about his failing health. The voice of a man who had dedicated his entire life to preparing for duty, even when that duty required the unimaginable. The first bombshell then arrived. "I'm giving up the throne." Cameras whirled wildly. With their phones already humming with notifications sent to millions, journalists leaned forward. In the British monarchy, abdication. The weight of a crisis is carried by that word alone. Edward VII did this out of love. What brings an era to an end? Charles wasn't done, though. His eyes moved, hardening as they settled on Queen Camilla, but not even close. She was radiant in emerald green, the epitome of regal poise, a woman who had finally reclaimed her throne after enduring decades of public scrutiny. She anticipated that today would be William's time, a formal transfer of authority, and her part as the respectable stepmother facilitating the change. The charge that followed caught her off guard. All royal titles and privileges are hereby revoked for Queen Camilla. It appeared as though the room was tilted on its axis. William, who was born with the ability to regulate every expression on his face, was unable to conceal his disbelief. Catherine stayed motionless, but her hands were gripped together, revealing the mental tremor she was experiencing. The rationale is disastrous. Camilla was charged with manipulating and fabricating the king's medical documents. His diagnosis of trying to take over the throne as her husband battled for his life. You'll witness something remarkable when you watch Camilla's response in that old video. The exact instant a well-built facade falls apart, she almost lets go of her silk handkerchief. Her eyes enlarge with incredulity rather than terror. With the exception of this one, she had prepared for every situation, every possibility, and every possible danger, other than being discovered by the man she believed she had tricked. Take a moment to consider that. Imagine the frigid precision and calculation needed to change your husband's medical records while he is fighting cancer? What degree of ambition motivates someone to do that? The press conference descended into anarchy. Questions were screamed over one another by journalists. The phones kept ringing. The meticulously planned formality of royal protocol broke, like exquisite china striking marble. With silence more potent than words, William and Catherine left quickly. They moved as if they were fleeing a burning building, because they were a worldwide response in many respects. The world blew up in a matter of minutes. Every screen in London, New York, Tokyo, and Sydney yelled, "King abdicates, Queen betrayed." Every time zone, platform, and discourse was devoured by the narrative. This is where things start to get interesting, though. There was a split in public opinion. Charles's bravery was hailed by half the nation. A monarch who chooses justice over personal loyalty. A king who refuses to let ambition corrupt the crown, even when that ambition wears the face of love, they concluded. The other half questioned everything. Was this really about justice, or was it a calculated power play? William's inner circle eliminating a rival, using Charles's in order to comprehend the discovery. We must go back 7 days before the abdication, before the accusations, and before everything fell apart. Sandringham Palace, a private royal retreat valued for its seclusion and tranquility, is where the family goes to escape the cameras, the scrutiny, and the endless performance of monarchy. It was Charles and Camilla's wedding anniversary, and despite the unrelenting pain from his illness, Charles had insisted on preparing a personal gift. Then he heard Camilla's voice. Normally, Camilla's tone carried warmth, that slightly husky quality that put people at ease, but this time it was sharper, colder, commanding. She was on the phone. Protocol required him to announce himself, but something, instinct, dread, that sixth sense we develop when something's terribly wrong, held him frozen outside the carved oak door. What he heard next changed everything. "I don't want it to sound critical," Camilla, nestled in dark green velvet, as someone talking about garden design. "I want it to sound more critical than it is. Just use the appropriate language, such as severe exhaustion, indefinite rest required. That will convince the council that the king requires a protracted recuperation." Harland, Dr. Harland, Charles's personal doctor, the man he literally trusted with his life, and Camilla was telling him to fabricate medical records. Can you picture that scenario? The man you love is dying of cancer, and you're standing outside a door, listening to your wife orchestrate your political removal. Charles stood motionless, the velvet box getting heavier in his hands, but she wasn't done. The conspiracy intensifies. Camilla called another number right away. The anniversary gift slipped from Charles's hands. The velvet box landed soundlessly on the Persian carpet, but to him, it echoed like shattering glass. Think about what that represents. Years of devotion, decades of fighting for acceptance, a lifetime of choosing this woman over duty, over protocol, over his own mother's approval, all of it reduced. We can't allow those indecisive fools to obstruct us. Every word was a knife. This wasn't just medical manipulation. To a prop in someone else's power play, Charles stepped back silently and went back to his chambers alone. The green velvet box remained where it fell, a silent symbol of sincerity betrayed. But here's what no one knew at the time. King Charles' I wasn't broken, he was galvanized. The investigation. From that point on, Charles completely withdrew from public life. Officially, he cited strict medical rest. The press reported his worsening condition, and rumors swirled about his ability to continue ruling. 2 distinct medical reports bearing his name, dated to his most recent examination, and bearing Dr. Harland's official stamp, were found in Buckingham Palace, a serene chamber where generations of royal history lay archived and sealed. However, the contents of these reports could not have been more different. The first, the original, discreetly obtained through a loyal nurse, described Charles' condition as stable, requiring observation, yes, but presenting no immediate danger to his life or his ability to rule. The second, circulated to the Royal Council and senior advisors, painted a catastrophic picture of severe decline, nervous exhaustion, and potential intervention. Charles placed both documents side by side under the lamp, removing him from power, but evidence alone was insufficient. Charles needed to know the full extent of the conspiracy, who else was involved, and how deep this went. That's where Catherine, Princess of Wales, entered the picture. Kate is extremely meticulous and detail-oriented. While organizing palace correspondence related to medical care, routine administrative work that most people would find mind-numbing, she noticed something strange. A series of emails between Camilla and Dr. Harland, sent at irregular hours, frequently late at night. The language was coded, vague, and cautious. One email from Harland to Camilla that stood out like a beacon. She had always treated Camilla with respect. After all, the woman had made Charles happy. However, this went beyond family drama into something darker. Kate brought everything to William without hesitation. He was already under tremendous pressure, worried about his father, anxious about his upcoming role, and burdened by the possibility of becoming king much sooner than anticipated. When he read Kate's findings, his expression hardened line by line. William had respected his stepmother and thought she had brought stability and genuine happiness to Charles's later years, but the evidence broke that belief like a hammer through ice. From that point on, their own walls, the evidence mounts. William and Kate operated like intelligence agents. They used encrypted channels, avoided surveillance in heavy areas of Buckingham Palace, and worked only with their most trusted staff, their target, Dr. Harland. Through painstaking analysis of phone metadata and palace server logs, they uncovered something decisive: a recorded telephone conversation between Camilla and Harland. When William played it back, he felt fury and disbelief surge through him. Camilla's voice, measured, calm, utterly unrepentant, instructing Harland to inflate the king's medical condition, to use alarming terminology, deliberately designed to remove Charles from all official responsibilities. It was irrefutable, damning, devastating. They brought everything to Charles. The recording, the two contradictory reports, the email trail, every piece of evidence meticulously documented. Charles accepted the device with unsteady fingers and pressed play. Hearing his wife discuss him as an obstacle, as a problem to be managed instead of a person to be loved, he carved something deep and permanent into his soul. However, since Charles is a monarch, and monarchs do not have the luxury of emotional collapse, he made one last decision. He would give Camilla an opportunity to confess. Not out of mercy, not even out of love, but as a final ethical reckoning, a last attempt to salvage some fragment of dignity from the wreckage of their marriage. The confrontation took place in a small drawing room, with just the two of them and an oppressive silence. Camilla entered with practiced assurance, sorrow of a betrayed husband and the power of a sovereign. Calmly, almost gently, he asked Camilla about her concern for his health, about her recent communications with Harland, and she dismissed it all as miscommunication. Her actions, she claimed, were solely motivated by fear for his well-being. She even redirected blame, suggesting jealous courtiers had fabricated rumors to undermine her position, to fracture their marriage. Her bold denials, her total lack of regret, put out the last vestige of hope in Charles. When Camilla left him with complete clarity, Charles called his private secretary right away. His decision was clear. He would formally abdicate, handing over the throne to Prince William right away, and present Camilla's plan and all supporting documentation in front of the royal council. Justice would not be concealed. It would be public and unmistakable. Seated at his ancient desk, Charles lifted his pen and began signing the new will and the abdication decree, each document marking the end of an era. Each signature felt unbearably heavy. He also wrote Camilla a farewell that would never be sent, but had to be written. As he sealed that letter in a plain envelope, he was closing a chapter of his life that had defined him for decades. The days after the announcement changed Britain. The coronation of King William V was more than just a ceremony, it was a catharsis. Prince William, now king, stood on the historic palace balcony with an air of calm authority that belied the chaos of recent weeks. Beside him, Queen Catherine projected absolute faith in her husband, in their path, in the righteousness of their actions. The crowds weren't just celebrating a new monarch, they were witnessing the restoration of integrity to an institution that had seemed on the brink. While London erupted in celebration, another story took place almost entirely in silence. Camilla, officially stripped of all royal titles, was told to leave Buckingham Palace. There was no ceremonial departure, no motorcade, no devoted staff, no words of farewell, and she was only allowed to carry a few personal items. Her destination was a remote manor in the southern countryside, surrounded by fields and woodland, isolated, forgotten. It was a sentence of solitude, silent, enduring, and heavier than any visible punishment. And so, as the palace lights dimmed and the echoes of history settled into silence, one truth became impossible to ignore. Power does not corrupt quietly. It moves in whispers, in sealed envelopes, in midnight phone calls, and in the betrayal of those closest to the throne. What unfolded behind those ancient walls was not just a royal scandal, but a warning written in gold and bloodlines that even crowns cannot protect against human ambition. King Charles III walked away not as a defeated man, but as a monarch who chose legacy over loyalty, truth over comfort, and duty over love. In doing so, he shattered the illusion that the monarchy is immune to manipulation. And as King William V ascended the throne, the world was left to wonder, was this the beginning of a new era of transparency, or merely the end of one carefully hidden lie? As for Camilla, history will remember her not by titles or jewels, but by the silence that followed her fall. No speeches, no redemption tour, just isolation, unanswered questions, and a legacy rewritten without her consent. Some will argue justice was served. Others will claim the truth is still buried beneath centuries of royal secrecy. But one thing is certain, nothing inside Buckingham Palace will ever be the same again. So now, the question shifts to you. Do you believe this was an act of courage or a perfectly executed power shift? Was this about justice or control? And if something this explosive could remain hidden for so long at the very top, what else has the monarchy kept from the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want deeper breakdowns, unseen details, and stories they don't want you questioning, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay right here. Because this story may not be over yet.